Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. I hope everybody's having a good week. Today I have a really cool guest on today. Today we're going to talk to Jen, the Florida blogger. She loves exploring Florida state parks and I'm so excited to talk to her. Her Instagram is Florida_on_foot. She does amazing content, especially exploring the Florida outdoors. She wants people to know that there is more to Florida than beaches as well. So I'm so excited to talk to her. I hope you guys enjoy this interview. Hey guys, today I have on the podcast Jen. She is Florida on foot, and I will tag her in this on the Instagram post. But she is going to talk to us. She is from Florida, or lives in Florida like I do, and she does a lot of stuff with state parks. So Jen, tell me how you first got interested in Florida state parks.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to talk about state parks in Florida because it's something that I really enjoy sharing. So I'm a little bit more about me. I'm originally from West Virginia, but I moved down to Florida almost 8 years ago now. And initially I was missing a little bit of the mountains and things that I experienced in West Virginia. When I first moved to Florida, I was running to the beaches, but I didn't really have that hiking and mountains and that type of thing. So I started researching and I realized that the state of Florida has 175 state parks. And I was like, wow, there's a lot that I'm missing here and need to explore. So that's kind of what originally drew me in. And then I just started researching some of the state parks that were nearby. And one of the first ones that I traveled to was actually Myakka River State Park down in Sarasota. And what originally drew me to that park was the Canopy Walkway. I really wanted to check that out, and I thought that was a really unique feature. It's still one of my favorite state parks to visit. And that's kind of where it started. And from there, I just started researching more and more into different parks and kind of have made it a goal of mine to visit as many as I can and hopefully all of them one day.
That's really cool. Have you seen the little book thing you can get that actually does, like you can check off each state park you've been to? Have you seen that?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that they have. I've seen different like posters or checklists. I also think they have like maybe a passport type book where you can stamp them or mark them off as you visit them. So I currently have a couple different ways that I'm tracking them. I have like a poster on my wall, and then I also have a printout, as well as, of course, a running list in my phone.
Well, that's really cool. So Myakka Rivers, did you only enjoy the Canopy Walkway, or is there something else that you really liked about that state park? Because that is really one of the prettier state parks in Florida, I will have to admit.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we drove into the park, I was just amazed. Even just driving along the park road, it was so beautiful with the trees and everything. And our first stop was the Canopy Walkway, and then we continued to drive out to the different lakes. We got to see some alligator lakes. And I know that they have a tram tour because we saw it going by as we were hiking.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have caught a ride. But one thing that's still on my bucket list for Myakka River is Deep Hole. It's a hike out to the sinkhole where there are known to be a lot of alligators. I've heard it's a really, really cool, really unique hike.
Yes.
It does require a permit to go to, so they only give out 30 permits a day, so I have heard to get there early if that's on your bucket list. But that is still something that I am hoping to do soon.
I have heard about that, and I'm not going to lie, the alligator thing, like, they don't bother me. I've seen them in the wild. I've encountered them in parking lots. But that's not, like, too much. Just too much for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that is...
Yeah, definitely observe them from a safe distance. But I still like to check it out.
No, I think that's really, really cool. Okay, well, I'll flip it on you. What is your least favorite state park that you've been to?
Oh, that's a tough question. Let me think for a minute. I guess... maybe I went to, it's called Yulee Sugar Mill.
Yes.
Historic State Park. It's very, very little. I thought it was really cool, and the history of it was still really cool, but there just wasn't as much to see and do there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, if I had to pick one, maybe that. I did pair that with the Homosassa Springs State Park, which was really, really cool. So I definitely think the Yulee Sugar Mill is still definitely worth a stop if you're in the area.
Yeah.
But it is one that you can do pretty quickly, kind of read the sign, see the structure, walk around, maybe bring a picnic lunch. But There just wasn't quite as much to do there as some of the other parks.
Yeah, and I think Florida's great for that. Like, they have some that are just like, hey, here, this is a historical spot. We're going to preserve it. We're going to call it a state park. Here it is. And then there's some that you can spend all day, all night, all week there, and you see so many different things, like the Everglades or Jonathan Dixon down south, or even, you know, the Dry Tortugas. Those are a lot of ones that you can spend all day, and you're not going to see the same thing more than once. But it is cool that they do preserve their history of their state in spots like the Yulee Sugar Mill. So I will agree with you on that one. That we went there and it was like, oh, okay, cool. All right, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's really cool about the state parks is they are so diverse. So depending on what you're looking for or what kind of experience you want that day, you really can kind of find something no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some that you want to plan a lot more time versus maybe just a quick stop on a road trip or something like that.
Absolutely. If you had to pick one state park that you think everybody in Florida needs to go to, which one that you've been to?
I could have a long list, but since I can only pick one, I think I would have to say Egmont Key.
Yes.
I think it is just a park that has everything, and even the experience to get there is so cool. So Egmont Key is offshore around St. Petersburg, and if you have a private boat, you can do that, but if you don't, there is a ferry that leaves from Fort DeSoto every day, and you can take that out. It takes about an hour to get to the park by ferry, and then you have about 3-ish hours to explore the park, and they really have everything. There's one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen if you just want to swim and snorkel and relax on the beach. There's historic batteries to explore, and you can walk around on. There's remnants of a ghost town that you can see different signs and different things as you hike along the trails. A really, really pretty red brick road if you hike enough on the trails to get farther back there. And then there's also a lighthouse. It's not open to climbing, but you can kind of explore the grounds and take some pictures of it. So it just makes like the perfect day trip from Tampa Bay. And I think it's one that because you do have to take the ferry, some people might skip. Yeah. But I think it's 100% worth the effort to go out there.
But it's also one of those, if you're already at Fort DeSoto, it's just something else to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like if you're at Honeymoon Island, go ahead and go to Caladesi. To me, it just kind of adds, and I'm glad you said that one. That one, I feel that one is often overlooked for that reason. And that red brick road is so cool to see. It really, really is. And it kind of sucks because with the rising tides, Egmont Key may not be around for a super long time anymore. So definitely encourage people to go see that one. All right, so tell me your absolute favorite park in Florida.
I think if I had to pick one, I would honestly pick Hillsborough River State Park, and I think it's just because it's one of the ones that I'm closest to and I have frequented the most.
Yeah.
So I'm more familiar with it, and I think it's also another great one if you haven't really explored too many state parks, or maybe you're just kind of getting into the outdoors and hiking. I think it's a really great option even for beginners or more advanced because they have multiple different hiking trails. I think the most popular trail there is probably the River Rapids Trail, which is just about a little over a mile along the river. There's portions of boardwalk and then also unpaved portions, and it's just so pretty. Really, really great trails. And then you can also walk over the suspension bridge, which is another really unique and cool feature of the park, over to a couple other trails, the Baynard Trail and also the Seminole Trail. So if you're looking to go, a little farther in distance, I think you can get about 5 or 6 miles total if you do kind of all of them in a big loop.
Yeah.
So I just really, really love that park.
Now, do you go just for the hiking, or do you enjoy any of the other stuff? Do you do like the bird watching or the wild? I mean, obviously you see birds when you're out there in the wildlife, but like, do you go specifically for those reasons, or is your main thing just to be out in nature and to hike through it, or do you camp or kayak or canoe or do any of the other things that the parks have to offer?
Yeah, great question. So I would say hiking is definitely my number one activity, and I just really enjoy being out in nature. I'm always looking out for wildlife, although I wouldn't say that I'm super knowledgeable when it comes to birding, although I can still appreciate seeing all the different types, especially in Florida. And then I don't camp currently. I haven't quite got there yet, but I do enjoy paddling, so kayaking or paddleboarding, either one. And then other than that, kind of looking at the different historical perspectives and things like that as well.
Okay. What is one piece of advice you would give to people if they were going to start looking at the state parks?
One piece of advice I would give is to start with the state parks that are closest to you. Make it easy on yourself. They have maps of where all of the parks are in Florida, and just start looking up those first and see which ones really pique your interest. And then I think after that, you'll probably start learning the types of activities you like to do, the things you like to look for, and then you can start exploring a little farther from home. So if you've never been to any of the state parks, or maybe only been to like some of the state parks that are beaches, I really encourage you to check out some of the others that are maybe a little more off the beaten path, because you might be surprised at, what you might find.
That's actually really true. I was surprised. Have you been to Washington Gardens State Park?
I have not, but I really, really want to go.
Okay, well, that's my area of the woods, so if you come up here, I'll go with you. We can make a day trip of it, because it's such a cool state park, because it's split. A1A splits it right down the middle. So half of it is this absolutely gorgeous, like, old home along the riverbank, huge gardens, massive trails, nice, like, shadowy walkways, and the other half is the beach. Like, it's just an absolutely gorgeous, untouched beach. And, of course, the admission for the day gets you into both. But I don't think a lot of people realize that the state parks have all of that to offer in one. You know what I mean? And so it's really, and you're right, you just need to go on the Florida website for the state parks and just really look around, because when I went to I didn't realize that the beach was part of it. So I had done the gardens. They're absolutely gorgeous, especially right about now because they're in bloom. And, people were fishing, and these people were having a great fishing day. Like, I don't know what they were doing, but they were just, every time they would throw it in, they were bringing something out. And I was like, well, you're much better than me at this. And it was just a great place to walk around. It was so calm. You had no idea that you were right off, like, kind of like a major highway. And I was getting ready to leave, and the ranger's like, well, you're going to go to the beach, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, it's down the road. And he's like, no, like, right across the street. Like, that still gets you in. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I went, and there was nobody for miles. And I found some shark teeth and some shells. And it was probably one of the coolest experiences. But also, use your resources in talking to park rangers. Have you ever done that to find out new things about parks? Like, do you talk to the rangers?
Yeah, so sometimes whenever we're coming into the park, if there's a ranger there collecting like the park fee, I'll kind of ask, do you have any suggestions of, the best things to do or specific things to do? Because I definitely think there, like you mentioned in your last story, there could be more to the park than you even realize. I definitely try to do my research somewhat before I go, but I love getting that like local perspective of someone that knows the park in and out, or maybe they even know, certain trail conditions for the day that might sway your decision of which trail you want to find. So the park rangers can be an awesome resource. So I definitely agree with that.
Absolutely. So is that really what caused you to like kind of start your Instagram page and your blog to do this? Was it just your love of the Florida parks?
Yeah, so back in November 2021 is when I launched my blog, Florida on Foot. And once I started going to some of the state parks, I realized how much there was to offer. And I feel like you hear people say a lot, there's no hiking in Florida, or, things of that nature. And I wanted to kind of break that stereotype and show people all there is to explore in the Florida outdoors. I think sometimes people take it for granted living there, all that we have.
Yeah.
And it just really is a passion of mine, and is something that I want to share with others, and hope that I can inspire others to see some of these awesome state parks and other places in Florida that they otherwise might not have explored. No,
I think you have a great blog. I love it. Because you do go to like some of the state parks that you've been to. Like, you just went to the Dry Tortugas, right?
I did. I just got back from Dry Tortugas. I haven't really got much content out yet, but that's on my to-do list. And that was such a bucket list trip for me. My friend and I were trying to go last year. It just didn't work out. And we just got to go this past weekend, and it was amazing. I
won't spoil it because I'm not going to spoil your content, but I cannot wait to see your content on that, because that is the one place that I have not gotten to go to yet. And I want to go so bad, because not only is it absolutely gorgeous, but it's just out there. It's so cool. Like, you have to make the effort to go. And it's
it definitely is a harder park to get to. you can only reach it by ferry or seaplane unless you, again, have a private boat, which I unfortunately do not.
Same, yes.
But it's about a 2.5 hour ferry ride, and I will warn you, if you are prone to seasickness, go prepared.
Okay.
It was a little bit of a rough ride, but it was 100% worth it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see your content on that. And actually, it's fun because, even also living in Florida and doing the podcast and having been to a lot of the state parks, I have seen things on your blog that I'm like, oh my God, I have to go back and check that out because I would have missed something. You know what I mean? So it's nice to have this, I love your content, and I was so excited to talk to you about it because, some of the stuff that you've done and you've gone to, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember seeing that. I need to go back and I need to look. And then you rediscover new stuff or more stuff, or you find something that you didn't even know existed. So I think that's why I love your page, because I have found new things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you so much. That means a lot. That's definitely the goal. And I also love connecting with others that are also passionate about the Florida outdoors, because just like you said, I learn from them as well, and we can share with each other to really discover the best of the state. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and then especially conservation, because I know Florida's big into conservation, especially that's kind of part of the state parks is to conserve and preserve. Not everything needs to be a Publix or a condominium. But especially with the way that they save those habitats for some of the panthers or the scrub jays or the manatees. And I think that's another really important thing why I want to push the state parks out there, so that people not only get to get outdoors, but they get to see these things that could possibly go away one day.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also educating people on how to enjoy things responsibly is super important, so we can try to conserve these areas that they're trying so hard to protect. So that's another really good point.
Yes, I think that's great. So tell me probably your weirdest experience you've ever had in a state park.
Trying to think of a weird experience.
I mean, I have many because I keep running into Florida Man, but I want to hear somebody else's.
I don't know. That's a tough question for me. Give me one of your best stories.
One of my weirdest. We were actually here in St. Augustine. We were in, I call it a state park. It's technically a national park. It was the Castillo, the fort. Mm-hmm. And we were there, and we were walking around it. And I don't know if this guy had one too many in Old Town and decided he wanted to tour the fort. But he starts just stripping naked and waving his shirt around on the top of the fort. And
oh my gosh,
partying with somebody and having a good time. And you kind of see all the park rangers kind of stop and look, and you see all the people kind of stop and look, and then people's phones kind of come out. And then he starts doing laps around the top of the fort. And I was like, so much of me really wants to watch this guy get tackled, but so much of me is that poor man is just so drunk, I'm going to have to look away.
Wow. I definitely cannot top that story.
Trust me, that was not it was just one of those days where it's am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? I'm seeing it. Yeah, it's happening. Okay.
Yeah, that is wild. I have not had anything that crazy to report back on, but one thing that I think always does surprise me a little bit is sometimes, for example, when we got to Dried Tortugas, as soon as we were there, someone was complaining about how there was no cell service, and I was like, that's really not why we're there, but I don't really know that comes anywhere close to your story, but I don't know, I've had pretty good experiences so far.
I don't know, I think that shows today's world, didn't you come out here to get away from that?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, no, I haven't had that one. For some reason, I always end up with Florida Man around me. Where were we? We were in Big Cypress, and I don't know if this guy had just taken speed or something, but he was trying to mountain bike and he just smacked into a tree, and we're all kind of oh, and he just gets up and he's like, I'm good, and just rides off, and I'm like, all right, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Florida Man on bike. Cool. Got it.
I'm going to have to keep my eye out.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, if you watch, sometimes people watching in the state parks is almost better than the wildlife watching. But I mean, and that's part of it. Being in the state parks offers you many different things. But I will have to say though, going back to it, They do offer some really cool stuff with like the fact that you can do rentals and you can do like concessions. You know, also if you hear a cat, I'm sorry, my cat likes to make guest appearances on the podcast. He's fine. Yeah, he's fine. But no, like it's cool because the state park does offer, and I think that guy probably did rent a bike from that place. That's what's funny about that story. That they do have all those rentals and stuff available. If you get to a park and you're like half prepared, but then you're like, oh, I really want to do that. And they're like, well, great, you can just rent one from us. Have you ever used any of their stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think for the most part I've rented kayaks. So
Okay.
A couple that come to mind quickly are Silver Springs up in the Ocala area.
Yeah.
And then I've also rented kayaks at Werner Boyce Salt Springs, which is up in Port Richey, so not too far from me in Tampa.
Yeah.
Those are the two that come to mind quickly that have the kayak rentals. I do know also nearby to Tampa is Alafaya River State Park that is well known for mountain biking.
Yes.
They have, I know, the bike rentals there. I did not bike on my first visit, but that is something that I also would like to try. And then recently this weekend when I was in Key West, we didn't rent from the state park, but we actually rented bikes from our hotel, and then we rode bikes out to Fort Zachary Taylor Historic State Park, and they had bike racks all over the place, so you could just ride in, park your bike for a while, explore the fort. Then we went on to the beach, parked our bikes again, so that was really awesome. And we just spent the whole day there just hanging out and exploring the park, so that was really cool.
Yeah, I do. I think it's really great that they do make it accessible to many different people. Because, I mean, like, I used to walk into Honeymoon Island State Park out in Dunedin. Because you could just go down you could just walk off of the causeway and you could just walk into it and it was $1. So I would just pay my $1 and I would walk past the 40 people in line of cars and just walk in and then just walk down the trail and go to the beach. And it was, it was really nice because it is accessible to people who don't necessarily want to drive a car or who ride bikes. And it's also cheaper, actually. While still...
Yeah, the walk-in fee is cheaper usually.
Yes. And parking is free if you park in the causeway. If anybody wants to do that, it is a bit of a hike, but it is a lot cheaper and easier, just saying. But no, I think it's cool that they are accessible in that way, in the fact that they let, anybody and everybody do that. But I will say, if they do, you've encountered the pay envelopes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Please do that. Like that, I hate when you see people pull up and then just not do it. Have you encountered that?
I haven't seen anyone personally, but I know that definitely, I'm sure, happens. The way I always see it is that I'm happy to support the parks and give my money to them because I love it. I love exploring them. I like enjoying them, and
Same.
I want them to be able to continue to operate. So I 100% agree. I always pay any park fee that is needed.
Yeah, and so I always have to say that, like, please pay the fee. Like, it's there for a reason to make these parks better for you. Or for everybody.
I think they've tried to make it easier too, allowing you to also pay online.
Yes.
So if you don't have cash on you, there's usually like a QR code you can scan. Because I know a lot of people don't carry cash nowadays. I try to keep like $5 or $10 in my car in case I happen along a state park. But or if you're visiting them frequently, they also have the park passes, which you can pay for an annual park pass and then get into any of the parks. So if you are visiting them frequently or with your whole family, that makes it also more affordable. To just buy the annual pass as well. Yes.
And I did want to say that I'm actually glad to have you on this week. It's really cool because tomorrow you can actually get into some of the parks starting for free. The national parks. So like Everglades, Big Cypress, the Timucuan up in Jacksonville, the fort, there's one in the National Seashore. Those are all going to be free tomorrow for the next few days because it's coming up Earth Day. So
so they have a lot of special events in the next week for Earth Day and like National Parks Week. So there is a free day tomorrow. So that's definitely a great day to take advantage as well.
Are you going to take advantage of that? Oh no, you're in West Virginia. That's right. I was like, no, never mind. You're out of town.
Yeah, I'm out of town, but I would like to.
I mean, I'll be working, so I'm like, maybe somebody is. But no, hopefully, since it is a week, I'm hoping to hopefully get back to one like later in the week because I live so close to St. Augustine. I may go tour the fort and hopefully don't see drunk people this time. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully you have a better experience this time around.
I mean, it's always fun. I'm not saying it's not always fun. Well, is there anything else you want to add to anybody about the state parks or about your blog or anything?
Not really. Just want to say, definitely if you are interested in exploring the state parks, highly recommend you do it. There's a lot out there to see. And if you'd like to follow along, I'm at Florida _ at foot, or on foot, sorry. And my blog is floridaonfoot.com. So feel free to follow along and leave me a comment, or if you have any questions about the state parks, whatever I know, I'm happy to share.
I will definitely tag you on the Instagram post. Do you have a Facebook blog as well, or just that one?
I do have a Florida on Foot on Facebook as well, so I'm there as well.
Okay, I will follow you that on the podcast, and I will get you tagged in that as well. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
It's been great chatting with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and just thank you so much for being on. Anytime you're up towards like the St. Augustine area, if you want to go to a park, hit me up. I will happily be your park buddy that day. Trust me. But yeah, thank you.
I have a lot to explore up that way.
These are actually some of my favorite parks, so I will make a day or a couple days of it, I promise. But thank you again so much for being on the podcast. I'll let you get back to your family, but thank you again so much for being on today.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was Jen, the Florida blogger, Florida _on_foot. I'm going to tag her. She is amazing. If you have not checked out her blog, you definitely need to check it out. She has some really great content. In fact, like I said, I have found new things on her content that I have fallen in love with. She's just an awesome individual. I cannot wait to see her dry Tortuga stuff. So yeah, if you're definitely interested in state parks, I agree with her. Just go to the one that's near you and start looking. I've done quite a few episodes on it. As you know, that there are many, many state parks in Florida. So there's got to be one nearby. Or if you're going on vacation in a new part of Florida, or just in Florida in general, there's probably one nearby. I will say sometimes the beaches are a lot nicer. The trails are kept up better, and you'll get to see some wildlife. You may also get to see some drunk men or women or Florida man. I've already told you the Florida man story for the day. That did actually happen about a year and a half ago. So you never know what you're going to see in the state parks. You may see some beautiful wading birds or some migratory birds or, turtles or deer or a Florida panther or a drunk Florida man, waving his clothes around or riding a bike. Who knows? But the fun thing is that being in Florida is never boring, and the state parks are no exception to that. Thank you for listening today, guys. I appreciate it. If you have a second, I really, really would appreciate a review on Spotify or Apple. They just kind of boost the podcast to everybody else. If you have not checked out other podcasts on the Unfiltered Studios, definitely go check them out. That is an amazing group of people. I have found so many new awesome podcasts and so many new friends just being in this studio. So I love them all dearly, and you should definitely go check them out. Thank you for listening, guys. Also, go Florida Panthers. I know, I'm sorry, a lot of you probably are Lightning fans, but go Panthers. They play on the 21st, I think is the first game, so I guess we'll see what happens. Guys, I hope you have an amazing week. It is Earth Week this week, so if you have a second to get out and enjoy those outdoors and enjoy our Earth, do take that time. Don't forget to wear your sunscreen, drink your water, be nice to one another, guys, and as always, that's your daily dose of sunshine.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.